You're watching Conscious Mind Tripping with your host, Audrey Newmont.
It is Wednesday night, time for a Conscious Mind Tripping podcast with my fabulous guest tonight, Miss Kimberly Thalken.
Hello.
I'm very excited to have you on. Kim has been a favorite at the Newmont Center. She is so gifted, and we're going to be able to experience, and I'm going to just tell you guys ahead of time. Do you know that your partner is calling me? Is there something? Hold on, watch this. This is what we do. Yes, ma'am, you're on Conscious Mind Tripping. Oop. At any rate, I'm very excited. So I'm going to tell you ahead of time. If you have any questions of Kim, put them in the comments. We're going to be able to see your comments. And also, if you have anything that you want to share in general, I like making this very interactive. And so I'm just going to say a couple of really quick announcements. One, for all of our events, everything that we have going on, go to newmontcenter.net, and we have a calendar page, and you can click on any of the things in the calendar, and it'll give you all the details. And for those events that are on Zoom, the Zoom link is up there. So we're quite organized these days with all of that. Thank you. And one thing that is a very spontaneous thing, this coming Sunday, we're going to be having that art day at the center. So we have these little 10 by 10 canvases. We got all these crystals on the counter. You come in and you get to make your own piece, and I've made it very reasonable, and it's a lot of fun on that day. And I think I might have a community piece available if people want to just pop in and help out with a piece of artwork and kind of get a feel for things. So that's going to be on Sunday from 10 till about 3:30. So come on by. Or if you want to just pop in and say hello, we're going to be there and having a good time. So I think that's all I'm going to say for announcements, but there's just a real quick tomorrow night, that class that I've been doing, the Spiritual Mental Alchemy. You can still jump in on that, and it starts tomorrow at 6:30. I've changed the time from 6:30 from 7. So that's it, and now we get to go back to you.
Oh, thank you
so
for having me.
So glad you're here.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. So I'd just start out by asking you to tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I am an intuitive channel and coach. I do energy healing work and hypnosis, and so I like to think of it as an integrative approach to wellness. One of the things, Audrey, that I'd love to share with your audience is that I am doing a beta test on a 90-day program that I've just created. It's called 90 Days to Excel Beyond Your Limits. Who doesn't want that?
Right.
And it's really an accelerated path to an elevated life and a thriving career. So I've got 2 spots open now, and I'm looking for 2 people who are wanting to lift their life, lay a beautiful foundation for their career, and who are interested in joining me on this 90-day journey to just, let's see, what can you experience in this program? Really, you can enhance your life in all ways. And I know this to be true because I do this work myself, and I see how it's impacted my life. So if you're looking to increase your life satisfaction, you're looking to build resilience in life and how it is you navigate your way through challenges and how you experience them. Also, if you're looking to improve relationships, build confidence, move through fear, we are going to be doing intuitive coaching, energy healing, and hypnosis. It's going to be working a lot with the power of the mind. So working with the mind and the wisdom of the soul. And I find that combination, boy, does that set you up for success. So
wow.
If you're interested, please reach out to me. You can reach me at kimthalken at gmail.com. And I look forward to hearing from you. Please reach out. Let's have a conversation. I'm so excited about this program.
It sounds exciting. So when you say 90 days, is it like, how does that work for 90 days? Is it
weekly sessions? Okay. Yeah, weekly sessions. And I just completed the program, and it's really, really comprehensive, and there's a lot of depth to it. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. I got a lot of tools and exercises, and just the work that it is that we'd be doing in the sessions alone would be incredibly transformative. So yes, I'm excited about this.
So another curious question, is this in like a group atmosphere or
one-on-one?
individual?
Sorry. Right now it's one-on-one, but ultimately it might be expanding to a group. We'll see. I'm testing it right now. So if you're interested in being a part of that with me and joining me on that journey, reach out to me.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. I put a lot of thought and effort into making sure that it covers all bases, and it's I think I've used I am learning all the time, Audrey. I am committed to that process.
Me too.
Yeah, I can't get enough. I'm like a sponge right now.
Right.
So everything it is I've learned, all of my own experience, what I've learned from clients, all of that is put together, wrapped up in a package of 90 days. So
it takes about 21 days to change a habit.
Yeah.
So when you're doing it for 90 days, then you're changing that habit and really reinforcing and owning the new habits.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's daily practices that go into this, that if you practice them in the way it is that that I'm suggesting, you will see definite change, a real change. And it's so interesting, Audrey. It's like when we do this kind of stuff, I feel like we kind of go through that experience too, right? Oh, yeah. As we're doing, we're like, wow, I'm living the program right now as I'm creating it. I'm working through my own challenges. I'm reprogramming my own beliefs.
Right.
So yeah,
I think
it's been fun.
So you're a therapist, and when I just had lunch today with another therapist, and there's a part of it where when we're a therapist and we have our clients that come in, there's a part of it where we have to continue to learn and grow and go to the next level and the next level and the next level. And when you're creating a program like that, like when I create my programs, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, how do I take this to the next level? But then sometimes, and this is with this class that I'm doing on Thursdays, it's like, I have gotten to here, and then it's like I have to remember, I got to bring this back to where I was first learning it, because there's such, you and I are the same that way. It's like we want to learn and we keep growing and learning, and then it's like, I got to remember with people that I'm working with, I know you do this, it's like I got to bring it back to here.
Yeah.
And then, bring them up to where it is.
Well, yeah, that's a process that I go through when I'm creating my programs too, is like I have to go, I see my client, in front of me. I think, well, what steps is it that I've taken to get to where my client is in front of me? And then you build it out like that, right? And it's just so exciting.
Right?
It's like, oh, wow, here's step one, here's step that, and then you build it out.
Right? And I know you do the same kind of thing as well. There's a part of it where you have spirit guide you. Mm-hmm. And as an example, in my last class, it was like I was doing whatever, and then I went to this and I went to that, and it's like spirit guided me to have them watch a video. Do you know who Jill Bolte Taylor is?
I don't.
She's a neuroscientist, and she had a stroke. So here's a woman who studies the brain, who had a stroke that turned off the part of her brain that made her present in the here and now. So the part of her brain that was on was the part that was attached to all that is. And it's called My Stroke of Insight. And it's a little 20-minute video.
That sounds incredibly powerful. I need to watch that.
Absolutely. And I highly recommend all of you to watch it. So I played it for my class last week, and it is just, how many neuroscientists get to really examine themselves and they're such intellectuals, they're so in that part of the brain, to literally have that kind of the brain turned off and be in that part of the brain where it's like connected to all that is. I mean, literally at a point in the video, she's talking about how she's looking down at her arm and she couldn't discern the difference between her arm and anything else. It was all pixelated. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Oh, that is powerful.
But again, Spirit led me to having that video, and then I remembered, I used to play this all the time back when. And so when you're allowing Spirit to guide you on the material that you're presenting, I know you do that.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I got up at like 5 a.m. the other morning, ran to my office to write down ideas that were coming through. So, yeah, like when I'm creating something like that, I feel like I'm always on, like always connected. My mind is going and I'm being inspired, and that's because we're in that energy. Something we're passionate about, and so when we're passionate, it's like we just open ourselves up to inspiration.
Right?
Yeah. And it can come at any time in any kind of way. Right? That's what I find.
Right.
That's what I find. In fact, I was going through a challenge the other day, and I heard my guidance say, and I was really up in my head, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do here to move myself through this? What do I need to do, right? And I hear my guidance come through and say, you are going through the program yourself that it is you're creating. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm excelling beyond my own limits too in this process. And I was like, oh, wow, that is just phenomenal.
Right?
Yeah.
That's, I think, one of the fun parts about our work. It's like we're continually pressed to go to the next level with all of it. And when your guidance is telling you that, that just confirms it. So I love that you call it your guidance.
Yeah, my guidance. It's my council of light, those that are working with me in spirit. It's my highest levels. That's all me. Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more about that? Because, the way that you bring your gift to the world, that presence that you are, it's like you can talk to all these different people who are blessed with doing like what you do, and you have such a unique approach with it, and I love that you bring it in the manner that you bring it. And it's like I always love hearing you because you're soft, but you're so defined, So how did you first start doing this? And tell us a little bit more about that part of you.
Well, it is part of my gifts and talents that it's part of my life's, I say, purpose and mission here. But I say we all have that ability to connect, and because we're all spirit, we are all spirit. And so, so I, a lot of people say, Audrey, and this is what came through to me the other day too, is, I hear people who do this work, and as they're working with their clients or they're thinking about what it is they want to do and how it is they're going to get it out there. And I hear sometimes people say, well, I'm afraid to share it in this way because it might turn people off because they might say it's too woo-woo. And I think that is such hogwash, that my new saying is woo is the new. Woo is the new. I'm sorry, but you cannot ignore that part of you. You just can't. You can, but you're not going to live an elevated experience if you deny that part of you. And that's just the truth of it. So, it's a part of my life's path here to really step into that part of me, but we all have it. So I kind of don't like to say, well, I'm gifted. Well, we're all gifted and we all have that connection. Some people, we just have to learn how to connect, and I help people do that too. So anyways, back to your question. Well, I started off on a very traditional, conventional path, right? I went to graduate school, and then my mindset was I'm going to climb the corporate ladder and go that route. And I did that for 15 years in the entertainment industry. And then I started, be interested in psychics and befriending them. And truthfully, the ones that I had befriended had really helped me on my own journey, like bring greater meaning and purpose to my experiences. And so I took an interest in that, and I started spending time in meditation, and then that's when my abilities started to open up, as they do with everybody. If you're spending time in meditation, you are connecting to your own guidance. Mm-hmm. And so anybody who does this is going to be connected on some level, and you'll be connected to your own intuition, your own guidance that will be guiding you. We're always being guided. But many of us don't connect the dots and go, oh, wow, that was spirit talking to me, or that was my higher self. We just think, oh, that's interesting. I just got this great idea, or, I just feel compelled to do this, but we don't really connect the dots in that way.
I think that's important for people to get, that when you have that inspired thought, that's your guidance.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I just had this interesting idea. That's your guidance.
Yeah.
Because people look at somebody like you and they're like, well, she does that, I don't do it.
Right.
But when people understand, when you're having that moment where it's like, well, I just had this idea out of nowhere, it's not nowhere. That is, there is that source.
There is that source.
And we're all connected to it, but we don't get taught that stuff. So
we don't get taught that. It's the silliest thing. And we've been guided to not pay attention to that, to not value that, to just bypass that aspect of life, that aspect of us.
So I think it's at a moment right now where there's a lot of people who are starting to understand that there is much more. Like, for instance, when we first moved to this area, it was like, oh, you don't go there. People knew that we were metaphysical. It was like we were wicked bad or whatever. I mean, it was not accepted. But here we are all these years later, and we're becoming quite the place to be because we bring in people like you. And it's like people are starting to understand, like, we're really nice people. It's not we're wicked. and I'm telling you, people think that somebody who practices metaphysical things, it's like they're wicked. But the interesting part of it is we're actually really grounded, centered, focused, intentional, and deliberate people who are literally looking to make the world a better place. And the funny thing is, and I'm not going to go into details about it, but there's many things that people are watching that are literally what they would think we do, that they're watching, that they're actually getting manipulated by. You know what I mean? As an example, sometimes when you go to specific concerts, you're listening to different kinds of music. That's literally the dark side of things that people used to think that we do. And now people watch it and it's like, oh, isn't this interesting? It's like, you're in hypnosis and you're being manipulated. So be very careful about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways in which we've been programmed, for sure, without us even realizing it. It's like you don't know what you don't know until you know. And yeah, that's part of the work it is that we do, is we take a look at what those unconscious programs are that are, residing deep within our inner mind that we didn't realize was kind of driving in the driver's seat. And when you start to realize that, there's a lot of beautiful, powerful work that you can do working with your mind to unlearn what it is you've learned. And that's the power of the mind, as you were talking about neuroscience before. That is the brilliance. That is you, that is me, that is all of us. But we don't understand that. We do not understand that. We just keep bobbling along in life. Let's just get up and do the same thing day in and day out. We're not paying attention to what we're listening to. We're not paying attention to what we're being told. We're not paying attention to where our thoughts are. We're not paying attention. And so that's what this work does, is it you become incredibly self-aware. And when you become aware, well, you're paying attention to everything.
Right.
And you're noticing everything.
It's almost like, can I go back to being unaware?
Yeah, that is a part of the journey too. I do have to say, Audrey, I feel like it's like, wow, it was life maybe wasn't so bad being totally unconscious. Look, during my unconscious years, I was having a blast. I was. What can I say? It was in my 20s and 30s, and I was in my career and traveling and partying it up and whatever. It's all great, and it serves a purpose, and I did have a great time doing that. But then things change, especially if you're on this journey. It is going to change your life. But I think it'll change your life in the highest of ways, and you actually would never want to go back.
No.
So you cannot unlearn what it is you've learned. But you can, as we're talking about that. But when we're talking about consciousness.
But there's a part of it where I'm looking at, and it's like, I think your experience being unconscious was a lot different from mine.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I created dysfunction. I created chaos. Did you?
Of course, there's absolutely. I wasn't sitting at home twiddling my thumbs, by myself, just in, I don't know. I was out there, I was out there. I was experiencing life in a different way than I do now. And it was great while it was happening. But, this path, especially when you're talking about elevating in consciousness, it's going to change your life. And that's not always easy because, we don't typically like change, but then we learn to embrace it. We learn how to move through it. We learn to move through the challenges from a conscious place. That makes all the difference in the world. We become incredibly self-sufficient, I'd say. Back in the day, well, this is creating chaos in not only my life, but other people's lives. So back in the day, I remember, something happened and I'd be on the phone with all my girlfriends telling the same story over and over again. And can you believe this happened? And yeah, he said this. And yeah, he didn't even call me back, or whatever it was. And you're dumping all your unconsciousness onto somebody else. Then you become more self-aware, and you would never do that. Like, I wouldn't dump on other people like that in the way that I did before.
Right.
You move through it from a more conscious place, and you talk about things from a more conscious place. That's not to say that we don't need support anymore, a good friend to talk to from time to time, but you just handle things differently. That's how I notice.
A lot differently.
Yeah.
I'm debating to ask you this question, so I'm going to do it anyway. I find that, especially when somebody brings somebody else in, or, like parents will send their kids in, and a lot of times it's like people really don't get in their own lives sometimes. Like, I would never have straightened myself out if I didn't have my daughter. Because it was like, I had no idea what a mess I was. And then it was like, oh man, but she's struggling. There's stuff that's going on there. So I bring her in, and it's like the therapist was so kind about it, but she was basically like, you're a mess. And I had to fix what I had going on, but I would never have known it myself. And I think a lot of times people are just in the day-to-day life, and this is just what normal is. And, all right, I'm not happy all the time. Or, yeah, you know what, I have a little bit of an addiction to this or that. Or, I'm not making as much money as I would like to make. Or I don't have this or I don't have that. But they don't have that awareness that that's not, what we have to live in. And so there's this like unaware that they're unaware. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a program like you've got that's going, and people are able to do that, mm-hmm. it's that part of getting them in the door where it's like, you're unaware that you're unaware. And here's a program. They're like, but you know what? I'm kind of good in my life. And it's like, But are you really? Are you really?
Is that really working for you?
And people just have no idea. It's just the status quo, you know, and there is that part of it. So I think they're having this kind of a conversation where we're able to bring that to the surface and be like, you know what, if there is something that's going on in those four corners of your life, and it's like, I would like to be more in love. I would like to have that like love of my life. There's a way to go about getting it, and it's a process to get it, or the health or the abundance or the joy or whatever those things are that you're, you know, not completely fulfilled in. And so there is that part of it where stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something like your program and getting to the meat of the matter, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to look at if there are things in our life that we're not bringing into our experience, we have to take a look at the why behind that. Like, what are we telling ourselves? What are our beliefs around it? And where did those beliefs come from? Where did they come from? Where did they originate from?
Mom and Dad. Teachers. Other kids in the back seat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you, the power of our mind will show us exactly what it is we need to see about where those unconscious beliefs that aren't serving us, they serve us until they don't, until it is we're ready to level up. You know, until it is we're ready to take that next step forward. So they serve a purpose. Everything is purposeful. And but when we get to the root of it, boy, it's fascinating what we will learn. Like I just did that for myself the other day when I had my own block, and it really challenged me. So I went in and I worked with my own mind, and I said, show me where the block is. Where did this come from? Boy, I tell you what, that is how brilliant and powerful our mind is. It will show you exactly what it is you need to see. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I remember that time in my life. And that's how that neuro pathway formed. Then, wow, and then it takes me to the next event. Wow, so that experience amplified that belief. And then that experience amplified it even more. Okay, wow, that's fascinating. Well, listen, I don't have to believe that anymore. I'm not that person anymore. That's not who I am. I don't need to carry that forward. And those beliefs aren't matching up with what it is I want now. So there's a lot of work, and that's part of what I'll be doing in the program with the clients it is that I work with. And it's fascinating and it's powerful as all heck, because after you clear that up, everything opens up. Everything opens up. And it can happen in a matter of minutes. What held you back for years?
Isn't that fun?
That is
Isn't
amazing.
that one of the greatest moments when you're working with clients? When we're working with clients, she and I are both, you know, she has her whole way of doing things. I got mine. But in the bottom line, we both have those moments with our clients where they have that epiphany. They have that insight.
Yeah.
And this baggage that they've been carrying for their whole life, in an instant, sometimes it's like, oh, and you watch it happen. And for us, we're like, hallelujah.
Yes.
Isn't it? It's like so much fun to see
is.
that moment happen, and that's why I do what I do. It's those moments; those are blessings.
They're real blessings, because we're elevating from that experience too, Audrey. Like it's an energy, and we're in that energy too. And when that happens, it's like we clear too, we elevate too. So it's never just one directional. It's always both ways. And sometimes I feel like, wow, who's paying who for this session? Because that was amazing what came from it. And I love helping my clients connect the dots, because once they connect the dots, then they can see. And everything makes sense. and then you don't have to hold on to it, and then you just feel empowered, and you don't have to feel like it moves you from a place of disempowerment to empowerment when you can see. But I'll tell you, those aha moments, when I have them for myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel it's very, very important that as practitioners, that we are doing this work too, that we understand the power of it too. So anybody who works with me know that I am doing the work too. I am there too. I'm experiencing too. I'm moving through and obliterating my own limitations through the work it is I would be doing with you. And that's the power behind it. When I get to experience that for myself, then it is I can go and say, you know what, this works. I know it works because I do it for me. And I see how it helps in my own life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking at the comments. I don't have a lot of questions. If you guys are having any kind of questions, go into the comments, because I'm going to move into another area of her fabulousness here.
Oh, wow.
So you have that video that you just put out about predictions and energy that is happening in 24.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I'm just curious because I got my own questions. I feel it's amping up. I mean, it's like things are getting really intense, and what I watch on my various kind of news versus what I'm watching on like MSN news is two different things. And so it's a fascinating thing for me because energetically I feel it. And then when I look on these different kinds of news, and I'm watching like video clips of other countries, things that are absolutely going on, and not just from one source a lot. There's a lot that's happening in the world that most people just don't really have an awareness of. So when you're looking at what's going on now, I know you feel those energies and you have certain predictions, things that your guidance is sharing with you. Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, so I did a video, as you were alluding to, Audrey, called 2024 Predictions and Energy or something like that. Anyways, go to my YouTube channel under Kimberly Thalken. You can watch it in greater length. But as you said, Audrey, there's a lot going on right now and a lot of different choices for all of humanity. And with those choices, because that's what happens, you know, as we elevate, right? In order to elevate, the old has to be dismantled. That's all got to come down. Just like when we're doing it within ourselves on a micro level, right? In order to elevate, all of the old systems within ourselves have to be dissolved into love. You know, all the unconscious programs, the things we've been telling ourselves, the unworthiness, the I'm not enough, all that stuff's got to be dissolved into love, right? So that we can elevate too. Well, this is what's happening just on a grander scale now, right? All of humanity's going through this. And as we move through this, we become more and more aware as you know, revelation happens, just all of the unconsciousness it is we've been living in that we didn't even know, we weren't even aware. You know, there's not one aspect of our life that has not been unconscious as a whole, from the education system to healthcare to the entertainment industry to the financial industry, every part of every
political
aspect,
system.
the political system, the financial system, all of that.
The environmental systems.
Every system is really just been unconscious, and that's what it is. We're now on par to create new systems that are conscious, right? That are conscious, that are going to support the fullness of who we are and all that we're capable of. I feel like we've just been experiencing just a tiny little sliver of what we're made of and what we're capable of, all of who we are. And that's what this work does too, is it shows us our expansiveness. It shows us how just expansive we actually really are. And then we come to realize, oh my gosh, we've been thinking and living so small, until it is we have that awareness and we get to actually feel ourselves in an expanded state. So anyways, going back to what you're saying is, as all those systems dismantle, it's like, a ton of energy. It's like, I used this analogy before, but it's like, if you hold a glass and it shatters on the ground and all those shards of glass, that's the dismantling that we're seeing in our world today. But yet all those shards of glass is a timeline, is a reality, is a choice, is an opportunity. And some of those opportunities are of a elevated energy, and some of them are not. And so but that's the beauty of this human experience, is that we get to choose. But it's very important to have that awareness of our choices, to pay attention to what our choices are, because some of those realities will really take you off path. But if it does do that, it's like, are you really off path? Well, there must be some reason why you've made that choice, because there's something in that experience for you.
See this road here?
This path, that's
it's
the
like,
path.
Imagine that on this road
go.
is, there's the path.
There's
and see
the
that
path.
glowing in the back. And when we go off that path, we step off the freeway.
Yeah.
It's like there's something to learn, and we've got to get to that next level of our consciousness.
Yeah.
That part where you're saying to really have the ability to choose, I think for what I'm looking at in this moment, it's like, everything that I'm looking at, it's like there's a lot of what's been going on, like within the school system, whether our kids are being taught, and we're all taught in the school system. And when now I have looked at, where does the school system come from? We all just take it for granted. It's like it's our best and highest. But when you start looking at, do they learn critical thinking? No. Do they learn these kind of skills or that kind of skills? When they come out of school, are they massively capable to do whatever it is that they're needing to do? And when we're looking at the school system as a whole, and you're looking at how many kids are faltering, there's something literally wrong with the system. So when we're having that awareness of what we're talking about, and you said that key word, choice, there's that part of it. It's like you've got to see what's literally going on clearly, and then be able to make that conscious choice. So as long as we think, oh, it's all okay, and things are just getting not better but worse, there's something in this road that we're traveling that doesn't any longer support. So when you're talking about having that dismantling, I think it's imperative at this point, because there's so many things that are literally not working. So in looking at and speaking with your guidance, are there these things that are already in place that are where we can, like for instance, in just the school system alone, where kids can literally learn the tools of life in a way that is constructive for them, and they're owning that inner confidence, that power, that ability to, have that sense of self and that awareness of how to, like, not only read and write, but like be with each other in a more elevated way. As an example, and I know I'm rambling, it used to be where, like, the mean girl thing, or that stuff that would, like, we all know 6th grade is like 6th, 7th, 8th grade is a challenging time for kids. Now I'm looking at it and it's like kids in 4th grade, and I'm talking with parents and it's like, these are the things that they're struggling with. So what I'm asking is, not only in the school system, but in all the systems, are you having information or insight from your guidance that we are in that shift and there are things that are going to be much better for humanity with all of it?
Yeah, I mean, let me think of I can answer it from how it is I feel inside, from what it is I've been shown and what my own knowingness is. And this came to me the other day too. I was thinking about what was going on in the world, although I have to be honest, I have not placed that much attention on that, because I've been placing my attention on my own creation, because when we do that, that's how we change. When we're focused on what it is we want to create, that speaks to our heart, that's how all the systems get rebuilt. That's how new energy comes into play. That's how we all elevate. And so that thought just came to me like, wow, I know that there are some horrendous things happening in the world right now. And, but I'm like, that's not the be all end all. That is not where we're heading. And just my own knowingness at that time was like, wow, I am so excited about where it is we're going. And the more it is you focus on your creation, what it is that's going to make you happy, what it is that brings you joy, what it is that speaks to your heart, what it is you're passionate about, you will have that knowingness too. But if you don't do that, then your energy and attention will be on what's happening out there, because you're not paying attention to what's happening in here. And everything starts in here first. So when you do that, you will see too what it is that I'm talking about. You will feel that for yourself. You won't even have to ask and somebody else. You won't have to ask somebody like me who's connected in or whatever. You will know that for you, because you will be connected to you and your own inner wisdom. And so, yes, I just feel us on such a high trajectory. I mean, yeah, I don't know how else to say it. And the more I concentrate on me, and the more I concentrate on how it is I'm showing up in the world, the more it is I concentrate on what it is, I want to experience and then emanate out into the world, the more it is that belief is anchored in and becomes true. And it's just something that I know inside. So, we're like our own little micro universes, each individual, each one of us. And so we get to decide what our world feels like by our world in here. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'll say to that. We all have that power. We all have that ability. And you'd be amazed at what happens when you start to reprogram your mind, and when you start to pay attention to your thoughts and what it is you're thinking, how everything changes.
It's amazing. It's amazing when we do that. When I'm looking at all this news, I want to clarify something. I've kind of been led to looking at all this stuff, but I really make sure that I look at it, and it's like, I see this timeline, I see that timeline, I see all these things, and I don't attach to it. So literally, as I'm looking at all of it, it's like, it's an awareness, it's an understanding, because Spirit has guided me. I'm supposed to know these things. But then I also hold it in the highest. So whatever those things are that are going on, like for instance, when she's talking about, seeing all of that, and you're in fear, basically is what it boiled down to. If you're anxious about it, if you're worried about it, you're attached to that kind of a timeline with your emotions and your thinking around it. So if you do choose to look at like the news, and there is a part of it that brings up that fear within you, key word that she said is your choice. So when you are looking at it, there's a choosing. Do I want to believe it? Do I want to give it credence? I'll see it. I understand that maybe that's a possibility, but it's not one that I'm going to own. I'm going to know, and I feel very much the same way as you, where I feel that there is an amazing, amazing future that is happening. And literally when I say happening, it's because we're here right now planting those seeds, directing the energy of it. And it's a lot of us that have that awareness. And so the more of us that are aware, and we are holding it in the highest, you're not, like she said, only doing it for yourself first, that emanates out, and we are all creative.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Audrey. This is about a year and a half ago. I was in my kitchen just doing my thing, cooking, I don't know, putting dishes away. And all of a sudden, this energy just came over me. And I just broke down into tears. My husband thought I was losing my mind. What is going on, Kim? Is everything okay? What's happening? These were tears of such joy and elation. And what had happened was I was being shown the trajectory of humanity. And even as I talked, like I could tear up because it was so powerful and so moving and so amazing that it literally brought me to tears. And so I wrote a blog on that. And so if you're ever finding yourself in fear, or you want to see what my guidance showed me on where it is we're moving towards as a whole, go to my website, which is KimberlyThalken.com. Go to my blog, and I think it says Moving Through Fear or something like that. Read through that, because I captured all of it. I went straight upstairs into my office, wrote down everything, because I wanted to capture that message. It was so incredibly moving. It was an absolute gift. And the song that came with it was, it's a Natasha Benningfield or something like that. I think the song is called Unwritten. And they tied it into that song. It was like, what's your story going to be? Because your story is unwritten. What are you going to write? How are you going to create your story? Because what's in front of us is still unwritten to a certain extent, based on whatever it is we all choose to create. So what's your choice going to be? What's your story going to be? And it was so powerful and moving. So I still hold that knowingness in here, but I also hold that knowingness in here too every day, because of how it is I'm choosing to spend my time, where it is I'm giving my thoughts to. And this year alone, Audrey, you talked about the importance of the energy this year. So one key theme I know that my guidance shared with me for 2024 is to be bold. That was the theme, to be bold, to step into, to take risks. They said just to take risks and to step into the unknown, because what's waiting on the other side of that fear, what is waiting on the other side of the unknown, that threshold between what's known and what's unknown, is just beyond our wildest dreams. And every time we do that, we see that for ourselves. That's like, I feel like the universe guarantees us that, because it's a breaking down of our own programs when we do that, because it requires some courage, right? To step into the unknown, to take that risk. And I know just in this year alone, which has been like 4 weeks now, 5 weeks, boy, has that been a theme for me. Boy, I've had to be bold and show up and be bold again the next day and be bold throughout the day and take that risk and challenge myself and, take courageous action. And so that's what I want to share with you too, is to do the same, because the guidance is saying that's how we create a new earth. That's how we create this new earth that it is we're heading towards, is through our creation of the new. But how is it that we're going to create the new if we're not going to be bold?
Right.
If we're not bold, we're repeating the same old thing over and over again. We don't want that. I don't know about you. I'm done with that. Let's move on to the new. Let's get this party started. It's already started, but let's move it forward even faster. So in order for us to move it forward even faster as a whole, we have to be doing that in our own lives. We can't say, let's move it faster all together and then not show up and do our part.
I think it requires a few things. One, it goes back to what I was saying before. People have gotten complacent and they live in here too much. Mm-hmm. And when you're living in here, it's like you don't have the ability to be bold. It's not you're being in your own life. You're literally in someone else's. And this is a fairly common thing that I see. But the other part of it, and I think it's in another important part of it, it's like people have a tendency right now that they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to be seen as that person. They don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or, step out of that, this is, where you're at, because there have been, for so many people, consequences, we'll just call it consequences, of speaking their mind or speaking out about whatever, or being bold, and I don't mean like you need to be bold in the wrong way, but sometimes it's like, if I just go on this little path here, I don't want to rock any boats, I'll just do what I do. And what you're saying, and I think what's necessary, is for people to kind of step out of their old belief systems and be bold. And sometimes that can feel kind of awkward. Sometimes it's like, are people still going to like me? Are they going to look at me like I'm the crazy one? Like, I've been the crazy one for years, but in my own life, in my own beingness, I'm good. I mean, I'm real good.
Well, I'll add to that, Audrey. When you start changing your beliefs, what you thought was bold before is normal.
Right. That's
so
true.
And then you're challenged to be bold in an even higher belief. So there you go again. There, we're going to up level yet again, right? So yeah, I mean, just as an example with the work I do, I had to hit that publish button on LinkedIn that says, this is what I do now. I'm not in, sales and licensing in the entertainment industry. This is who I am now. Hit publish. Oh my gosh, what are all those contacts going to think? Have I lost my mind? What is Kim doing now?
Did you put on there psychic?
In the beginning, I did. In the beginning, I did. I was the psychic medium, and I don't really identify with that. It's not. I find that my desire is much more than that, because I feel like psychic can be limited to, Kim, tell me what you see for me. No, that is so incredibly disempowering. I'll tell you what I see, but it's going to come with guidance on how to, show you that you're actually creating your future every moment. So I go more towards the intuitive coaching now, because that's really what it's always been. The foundation of my work is about elevating consciousness. So no disrespect to psychic medium, it's just not how I identify anymore.
I get it.
Yeah, but I am who I am, and you just have to step into who it is you are. And when you step into that, you'll just feel life, the momentum just carry you into that next step, And
there's a part of it, two things. One, I've seen you in action, and there is that part of it where you are guiding, you're asking questions. You're not just saying, this is what I see for you. So I get that part of what you're saying. And the other part of it, and she's amazing with that. I mean, I've literally watched her in action with somebody who's very dear to me in that grief support group. That was pretty amazing.
Yes.
And other times as well, but I'm specifically thinking about that one. The other part of it is people are so in their minds ahead of time. Like, for instance, hitting that button, it's like, what are people going to say? I had the same thing when I am in my own work, and then stepping into like doing this podcast or doing the various things that I've done. It's like, and then you actually do it, and it's like,
why didn't I do this sooner? I'm actually having fun doing this. Yeah, so you can be denying yourself. Well, we are. That's our limitations. That's why I'm doing that excel beyond your limitations, because that's what we do. But it comes through self-awareness. It comes through self-awareness. And the more aware you are, the more opportunity you have.
Right.
The more access to information it is you have.
And there's a part of it as well. We're all divinely guided. All right. So there is that part of it, like for writing my book or doing this or any of those things. It's like spirit is guiding me. And there's a part of it. It's like if you don't follow the guidance, then it's like there's a part of you that knows. There's a part of you that's like, I'm supposed to be doing this. And then when you're not doing it, it's like, then it's like moving forward is like, I'm kind of stuck because I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think that's a big part of it. So you got to step beyond your fears to really get into more of the fullness of those amazing feelings in your heart that you are complete. Because on a level, when you're not doing that, listening to your own guidance or whatever the thing is, there's a part of it, it's like, something's missing here. You know what I mean?
Well, and the more aware you become, the more that internal compass, that dial starts to move. And you become more sensitive to that, and you can feel it like that. Like, oh, I remember, just to give you an example, Audrey, I remember once I was having this conversation with somebody on the phone, and she was, what she was asking of me was not feeling right, and that dial was moving a little, like, I didn't have enough time to really think about it, but that compass was moving, and how I was feeling was like something's a little off. And so then I said, okay. And initially I had agreed to do what she was asking of me. Then we got off the phone, and boy, did that dial, boy, did that move. I was like, oh no, I agreed to something. Boy, that would have opened up a unconscious timeline, which means lessons to be learned. No, thank you. I picked up the phone and said, you know what? Sorry, I can't do that, or I'm not going, I can't remember what I said, but basically I said I was not going to comply. I was not going to comply, and that's what I was supposed to do. That was the higher timeline. I could have made the choice to stay on the other one, but then again, I knew what that would mean. And and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do that. It didn't feel right to me. But what you were saying, Audrey, is that, I feel now things are moving so fast that boomerang effect is much quicker now too. So if you're making a choice that is not aligned, it'll come back much faster.
Right.
Much, much faster than it would have before, because we're just not allowed to do the old and relive the old anymore. That's just not where collectively as a humanity we have agreed to do and to be.
Exactly.
So yeah.
We are having a question going on here. I was looking at my phone like, what's going on? So somehow or another, I'm missing all the comments. We have a question. How can I know when spirit or my spirit guides are talking to me?
Yeah, so, they're going to talk to you through what we call, communicate with us through what we call our clairs. So clairvoyance would be clear seeing. You might get a vision of something. Clair audience would be clear hearing. You might hear like that little voice in your head. It might be like a nice, soft little whisper. Clairsentience is how we feel. They might talk to you through your feelings. So my guidance did that, as I just explained when I was on the phone. My feelings started getting stronger. This doesn't feel right. And it might be claircognizant. You just know. You don't know how you know. You just know. And yeah, so in any one of those ways, and the more you spend time in meditation, which is incredibly important part, essential part to connecting to your own spiritual guidance, we have to do that because we've got to sit in stillness. We've got to quiet the mind so that our guidance can get through to us. They still get through to us, but boy, if we sit in stillness, we really open ourselves up with the intention of connecting, then that really amplifies the energy, the experience, and the communication. And what I like to say is, it's like dating, right? When you're dating, how do you strengthen that relationship? Or even in a marriage, even beyond dating, just in our marriage or a committed relationship, you have to spend time with that other person. When you're dating, how do you get to know them? You get to know how how they think, what makes them happy, what makes them uncomfortable, how they feel about things by spending time with them. You get a feeling for their energy, right? When we're dating somebody, we get a feel for their energy by dating, by spending time with them, by making them a priority, by being committed to opening up our schedule to do that. Well, it's the same thing with spirit. We have to do the same thing. We have to prioritize that. We have to make that, it has to be important enough for us to do that.
I think for a lot of us, I'm one, it's like it took me forever. I remember taking Nick's class and being so frustrated. There are no clairs going on here. and, it just kept being where it's like, so I just let it go. And I kept on with my practice. I kept doing what I was doing. And then there was this one day I felt that feeling. And I've said it before, it was in that elevator when I was at HMI, and I just felt that feeling. It was different. Mm-hmm. But the first time I think, really felt it was becoming a practitioner at Agape. Spirit was pulling. It's like, you need to do this. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? Yeah, I need to be a practitioner. I don't know why. And then in writing my book, certainly Audrey doesn't need to write a book, but Spirit's like pulling. There was this knowing, there was this, you got to do something. Yeah. And so we have to kind of soften up on what we think we need to do all the time and allow for that higher part of us. So I've learned at this point, finally, it took me a long time because I think there was a part of it for me as well. And you got to look at your beliefs. I think I took on a belief. That's Nick's job. He does all that. I don't need to do that. And then it was like, all right, so maybe I'm supposed to. And then, moving to the next layer of my leveling up and that next part of it. Now I've really accelerated a lot because I ask. And that was a big deal for me. I grew up not asking. And so when I finally was like, I'm open, I'm available, flow through here. And, allowing and doing the meditations and being present to all of that. And most important, being open to where Spirit's pulling. Because Spirit can pull you in this, come on, here's what we're supposed to do. And so in those little details of day-to-day life, I'm looking for, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to move forward? And so it's not Audrey the ego, or even Audrey the adult in the front seat sometimes. It's that ability to let go and trust that I'm being divinely guided. Yeah. And it's a process, and I think for many people, there is this born with it kind of specialness. There are people that are just, they come in with these things forefront.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, this is my life's purpose. So I, it makes sense that, boy, I would open up in that way. But I sat in meditation with intention, and it happened very, very quickly for me. So when it happens too, it can happen very fast. And when it happens quickly like that, it can throw you for a little bit of a tailspin too.
It can really throw you for a tailspin.
It can throw you for a tailspin. Oh yeah, I thought I was losing my mind, and I started hearing Spirit, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, this is too much. Oh, I don't need to know that. Forget it. I don't want this anymore. So it can happen very quickly like that. That was a little bit of my experience. Of course, now I would not have it any other way. It is amazing to be able to connect to Spirit, to be able to hear your own higher self, your soul talking to you. It is amazing.
How did you work through that?
The fear?
When it was too much and you're like, I don't want this.
Well, I was afraid to go to sleep that night, I have to be honest. Because, and this is what I was talking about, the energy, for me, the energy, it's such a new energy when you start connecting to Spirit. It's something that you, my experience was, it's something that you will never, you could never even imagine. And so that energy can be very powerful and very potent on your system, and so it can be very intense. And I used to feel when Spirit was coming in, oh my gosh, like that energy would just build and build. And I feel like a lot of energy in my heart and a heaviness, almost like I couldn't breathe, and really I didn't realize it, but that's my heart chakra opening up. And I didn't know that. Sometimes people can think they're having a heart attack when they're moving through the ascension process. By the way, spiritual awakening is very different than ascension. But anyways, that's what happens. Your heart starts to open, and it's like, boy, it's so different because we as humans, the first thing we do is protect our hearts, right? We're all guarded and protected, our hearts behind walls. Then when that all comes down, it's like, it's a very intense feeling. So anyways, when that started to happen and I started to hear what was going on in other people's lives around me, it was too much. It was too much. I thought, I don't need to know this about that person and that person. That I don't need that. I don't want that. And so it simmered down a little bit. But another thing I was afraid to do is take a shower because that water was an activation, and that's why a lot of times when we take showers, we get inspired. I don't know if you've ever. Most of us have had ideas come to us in the shower. It's us connecting to spirit and our own intuition. So I was afraid to take a shower for a long time. But anyways, you just go with it and you move with it, and you start to feel the goodness that comes with it, with that experience. And it's such a blessing. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I go through a difficult challenge, and it's because of my connection that I move through so much easier.
Right.
Faster, easier. I understand why it happened. I understand what to do next. I mean, that's a way different approach than when I was not open, where I would stay in my head. I don't know what to do next. Oh my gosh, I'm stressed out. This goes on for days, weeks, whatever. Now it's like, boy, you can clear that up just like that.
Totally. Yeah, it's like that's one of the very big gifts with all of this. You don't get stuck in the drama for hardly any time, and you have a higher part of you. It's like, can we deal with this?
Yeah.
I don't want to be in this stuff. Let's work through this quick.
Yes. That's why when I went through that challenge the other day, I sat down, okay, my very beautiful, wise mind, show me what, and that's spirit, show me what I need to see.
Absolutely.
Show me what I need to see. Any work it is that I do, that is a part of one of my core business values in my practice is connecting people, the people that I work with, to their own inner guidance. It's what I do because it is so incredibly instrumental in changing your life.
I totally agree. I'd actually love to have you come and do a presentation at my at the Spiritual and Mental Alchemy. It's all about connecting with that higher source.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you on as my guest there too.
Oh, I would love that, Audrey.
Oh, you'd be amazing for it.
I can't do this work without talking about that because it is the foundation.
Right.
Of everything.
It's the number one driver.
The number one driver.
It's the number one driver. Speaking of driving, we have to get off of here because I think we have run well over time.
Oh, have we?
Today. I didn't pay attention, and it's well after. So we had an extra little dose for you all, and I think it was well worth it. That last little bit in particular was fascinating for me. I hope it was for you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Audrey.
I love having you around. I love talking with you. And by the way, she is going to be at the Newmont Center on February. I'm like
18th.
A little energetic here.
Yeah.
February 18th, and we're going to be having a psychic panel. It'll be from 11 to 2, and she will be having readings afterwards. Or will you be before as well?
Not before, but we'll be doing the panel beforehand, right? So it's a few
we'll have
hours.
The panel, and then you'll be doing individual sessions.
Yep.
So on February 18th, and if you have not reserved your spot, reserve it now because I'm telling you, it is getting booked up in person. It's always available online. We'll be on Zoom, but the in-house is limited. So get your reservation now if you want to be in person.
Can't
and
wait.
Thank you. This was
Thank
as
you
usual
so much,
fantastic.
Audrey. Thank you. And thank you to all of you who are here.
And again, you can reach her at KimberlyThalken.com. All of her information will be on there.
Yep.
And
Excellent.
thank you all very much for joining us. I wish I'd seen more of any comments, but somehow or another we have these technical difficulties. But I will be here again next week. And next week we'll be with Nick Newmont on Valentine's Day. And he will be channeling Merlin. Yes.
Oh, what a treat.
I know. I'm so excited. So we'll see you on Valentine's Day. And in the meantime, I love you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'll
Thank
see
you.
you soon. And good night for now.